Hello Idle Hero fans, thank you for tuning in today for a video that I kind of hinted at yesterday, and that is the breakdown or unit discussion of the hero Rosa. Now, Rosa is kind of an overlooked powerhouse because first off, he's a priest, and most of the priests don't really fill like major roles when it comes to things most people think about for teams. You're usually looking at crowd control, or of course damage, or even maybe just tankiness plus damage that people usually look for when it comes to a dominating hero. But Rosa kind of fills a weird niche that is only really done by him. So let's start by looking at his stats. 64,000 HP is okay. It's not tremendous, but it's pretty good. It allows him to survive without getting killed too quickly. He's not as soft as something like Faceless, for example. 7,200 attack is average to low, but that's not really too big of a deal because, as we'll see shortly, his abilities don't rely too much on attack power anyway. His armor is average, and again, hardly relevant. And his speed is pretty good at 780, plus I think you can get 40 from the guild tech tree for a priest, so he goes first most times. Especially if you follow Drip's guild and you have a speed gem and perhaps even a speed artifact on him as well, he is going to be going first, which is very important. And the main reason for that is because of his primary ability. It's an active skill that deals 66% of his attack as damage against all enemies, reduces their attack by 10%, and increases all allies' attack by 16%. Now, this is where it starts to get a little ridiculous with Rosa, because losing 10% attack is a huge deal. Very, very underestimated, because 10% doesn't sound like a lot, but just for example, let's go look at what happens when you level up a hero from it's not actually showing me, damn it. I was hoping it would show the stats. That sucks. I think I'd need a hero that I could actually merge, right? Let's just see. No, it won't let me see it without doing it. Damn. But anyway, the point I'm trying to make is that you can have a hero reduce their attack by 10% is essentially the equivalent of one full level of like star level. So like if you hit your opponents with this, it's like they're fighting you with 8 stars for attack instead of 9 stars. And that is so devastating because just if you're curious about how much of an impact that can be, try to take an 8-star team and go fight a team that's all 9 stars with similar type of lineup. You're not going to have a good time. Now, of course, there's going to be other stats that are affecting that, like HP, but basically Rosa is bringing your opponents down by a full star in attack. Now, he also gains all allies 16% attack as well. So now you're buffing your own teammate up by like 1.5 stars of attack power. So this guy is super limiting to his opponents and raises his own teammates by an incredible amount for a total of what, a 26% difference in attack between your opponents losing some and your allies gaining some. His second ability is HP plus 30%, which is not bad. It's a pretty shitty that it's one stat for an entire passive, but I mean that is the way it is. It does allow him to be survivable, so that's fair. His third ability is attack reduces all enemies' defenses by 18%. Now that's another thing that it's kind of vague. When it says defenses, I imagine that just means armor, but that's another thing that's going in the direction of not only are you getting 16% attack, but you're reducing their defense as well by another 18%, and that goes up to I think like 24% for when he hits 8-star. So Rosa is making your opponents super weak. Super weak. Not only do they do less damage, but they also take more damage, and your allies your teammates are getting buffed up by his Q initially as well. So there's just so much stat manipulation going on here, and I think this is the big reason why Rosa is kind of not really correctly identified sometimes as a very high tier hero, because you can't see exactly what he's doing. When you win a game with Rosa on your team and you click the little stat report, it doesn't say how much extra damage your team is doing because of Rosa, and I wish they would. That would be an incredibly interesting stat to look at. if you could see how much effects priests and things of that nature were actually having on your team. Same with Asmodel. That would be an incredible stat to see, is how much extra damage Asmodel gives. But I remember hearing that someone said Asmodel's crit procs actually do count as his own damage, so maybe that's not a good comparison. But I would like to see a way for heroes like Rosa to have their true value reflected, because I feel that's where people kind of miss out on their evaluations. And his fourth ability is increases allies' defenses by 35% for 3 rounds when HP drops below 50%. And this kind of stuff right here is kind of why priests are making a decent front line right now. You can use Rosa as a tank, because not only will you be gaining your defenses your defenses will be raised by 35% when his HP drops below 50, which won't take too long if he's being targeted by multiple units. And since assassins are kind of falling out of favor, you're going to see more and more people just hitting Rosa because he's in the first spot. So you're going to be getting your defense boost faster, but he's also going to be applying his binding vines more often, which means once there's pretty much never going to be a time when he doesn't have that extra 10% reduction and 16% bonus. And because of his outlandish speed, if you combo him with an artifact and a gem for speed as well, he should be going before most crowd control users, including Ice Blink and Demon Hunter, and maybe not Dark Arthandal. Yeah, Dark Arthandal as well, if you have all of those speed, like artifact and gem equipped. But of course, if she has that as well, then you might be in a little bit of a race. But it's still insane how like often you're going to be using those abilities as a tank, as well as how much it really mitigates your enemies. And I think a big part of that, like I said, is the fact that his HP is also pretty high. If he had a low amount of HP and he died too quickly, it wouldn't really be relevant. Like, for example, if he only got 1 ability off per fight, but oftentimes Rosa is going to be surviving till the 5th round to get a second Stranglethorns, or Binding Vines, sorry. I think Stranglethorns is from League of Legends. Binding Vines, he'll get 2 of these off in most fights, and that is super important. Now, he might not get 2 of them off if you use him as a tank, but he will definitely be getting 2 of them off if you use him as a back row support, and that's just ridiculously powerful. To complement that, right now, Rosa is currently available in the limited events item exchange event, so you can get him right now for 1,800 of those fish bones, and currently we're getting about like 200 and something per day of those fish bones, so you should be able to get 2 Rosas. So right now, if you want, you can save up all those fish bones, get 2 Rosas, and that'll put you at an 8-star relatively easy. All you're going to need is the regular green fodder, and you're going to be set for having an actually effective mage or a priest support on your team, sorry. So I would definitely advise doing that. I'm going to be doing that on both of my accounts, my official account as well as my private server account, and I highly recommend you guys do the same. Unless, of course, you already have Rosa, then you don't need a second one, but still, most people don't have them, so if you do have them, I would definitely, or if you don't have them, sorry, I would definitely invest in one. But thanks very much, guys, for sticking through the video. I know it's been a kind of a shorter one, especially compared to yesterday, but I did want to try and get to making more regular videos, even if they're not quite as long. So, thank you guys very much for watching, and have a good night.